From now on, because of your sacrifice, I will no longer be angry with my people. My people will live under your grace, son. Your grace. They'll live under your grace. And you will come to me, son, every day, every hour, every moment, every minute, every second. And you will plead on behalf of our creation that they are reconciled with me, the Father, through you, the Son, because I can no longer stay in the past and in my anger. In my anger. However, that time of grace has an end point. But until that end point, whosoever will can come unto me and be reconciled of their sins. Can you say amen? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. That's why we're here this morning, folks. So understand that this word that Peter is giving to the church, this is a reflection of God the Father himself. This is growing in the understanding of God. And let me read this, what I just spoke a few moments ago, one more time. For many people, circumstances that carry heavy burdens. You know something, folks? For you parents, grandparents, you know what I mean when I say this. Children hurt their parents all the time. They say things they don't really mean, maybe. They say things at the wrong time. Maybe they even do things. And it hurts. Not necessarily hurts your feelings, but it just breaks your heart that they would think that or say that or take that position or see it from that perspective. And it just breaks your spirit. It breaks your heart and it hurts. Maybe something that somebody has done in the past. It just hurts. And when you remember things of the past, it brings up those hurts again. And I just think, folks, for those that would be listening to me this morning, I think maybe it's time that we just get over being hurt. Yeah. It's time that we be healed. But it's time that the past lay in the past, and it doesn't resurrect itself anymore in our memories. Yes. You see, that's being found in the nature of God. I have to do that for myself. I know you need to do that for yourself. Those of you watching on the internet, I know you've been hurt many times in the past by your own children. Maybe by a husband or a wife or a loved one. But found in the reconciliation of the grace of God, Peter here is saying, wherefore now it is time to lay aside. Let's move on quickly. Now he gives a list here. Wherefore lay aside all. I don't have time to go into the concept of all. But all is a whole other concept. Okay? But let's look at it. Lay aside all malice and all guile and all hypocrisies and envies and all evil speakings. You see, Peter is saying this because he's saying to us, because that's what I did. I was so angry. You cannot believe how much malice I had towards the Romans. You cannot believe how much malice I had towards our own people who betrayed us, who became tax collectors, who were spies for the Romans on our own people. And I hated them with great malice, and there was evil speakings among us at all times. I was a part of that. I had great guile. I was envious of those who were prospering, because those of us who were poor, we were being abused and used by those who were the elites. And then there came a time, Peter's saying to us about himself, then there came a time where I understood that if I was going to move on in the grace of Christ, if I was going to move forward in my relationship with Jesus Christ and with God the Father, I had to do some subtraction. I had to subtract from my life. You see, folks, that's what happens many times in our lives. And you can be a pastor, you can be a preacher, a counselor, a coach, a teacher, a parent, a friend, a father, mother, brother, sister, whoever. And circumstances arise. Things happen. People say things. All of a sudden, the wounds and the scars, and they become deep wounds and deep scars. Life has a way of periodically pulling apart and revealing those scars once again, revealing those deep wounds. And the pain that is revealed in those. And Peter here is saying, now it's time to lay aside those things. I had malice against the Romans. I had malice against Jesus Christ. He let me down. God let me down. I put all my trust in God. I gave everything up for God. I sold out my family. I sold property. I sold my home. I sold my fishing boat. That I would follow this guy. And then what happens? He surrenders himself unto the authorities, and then they kill him. Not only that, but then I deny him. I don't know this guy. This isn't the guy that I know. There's no way. This is not the guy that I sold out to follow. There's no way I know this guy. And then Peter had to have a reconciliation with Christ. Listen, folks. Then Peter, once again, he had to look into the same eyes of the one that he betrayed, and they had to be reconciled together. They had to reconcile their personal relationship. They couldn't keep envy and hypocrisy, and he couldn't keep malice against somebody else. You don't know what he said and he did to me. Okay? I'll forgive him, but I'll never forget what he did. Then there's no forgiveness. Then there's malice. You see, there can never be progression until we lay that stuff aside. Until I lay that aside. Until I forgive myself. Until you forgive yourself. Lay it aside. Verse 2. Now Peter says, now as newborn babes. Now Peter is saying this because he had to start all over as a newborn babe. A few weeks ago I talked about Peter's born-again experience. And you know what, folks? Sometimes we just need to look at circumstances as a child. In the simplicity of being a child. Don't think about it so much. You're thinking way, way, way too much into it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. Now, some things are complex. The SATs are extremely complex. I did not do well on them. Those are the things that we should keep simple. As a newborn babe, start all over again. Start afresh. Make a new plan. God will be in that with you. God will be there for you. And then the next one, and I'll close with this. As newborn babes, desire. Now I want to close with that. Peter uses the word desire. You see, folks, people don't know what they desire. They can't have a desire when they've not yet laid down malice and hypocrisies. Well, I'll forgive him, I'll never forget. You can't believe what Frank did. Boy, am I glad God has forgiven me, but boy, Frank's going to have it coming. See, in that circumstance, that person, individual, people, country, community, whatever it might be, church, whatever it might be, they can't even begin to comprehend some sort of a desire because they're so locked in to the malice and the hypocrisy and the guile and the evil speakings that many times we don't even realize that we're speaking them. And Peter says, desire. Desire what? I'm supposed to speak to somebody, to a young man or a young girl, that to have desires, and they're so wrapped up in their affairs, they're so wrapped up in their circumstances, they can't have a desire. They have no desire. They're so entrenched and so imprisoned in their current circumstances. There's no way they can work themselves out until they start doing some subtracting. You know what, folks? Sometimes less is more. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes slower is safer. Sometimes it's better to walk slowly downstairs and hold on to the rail than it is to get in a hurry, and you'll get there quicker. Just good advice for those of us who, Sometimes slower is faster, and sometimes less is more. And you see, Peter is saying here, before we can even desire, we have to first lay aside. It's no wonder this individual can never progress. It's no wonder this family never changes. It's no wonder that community never changes. It's no wonder that community never progresses. And all you got to do is just look around us. Just look around. See where we live. Can't get over it. Can't move into the future. Because with a clenched fist, they hold on to the past. Because with a clenched fist, you don't know what they did to me. You don't know what they did to us. Can never move forward. Can never be reconciled. You see, Peter is telling the church this because he found himself in that very place. It's to know and to understand God, that God the Father had to reconcile with himself his own anger. Don't anybody that's here listening to me think that you're not guilty of anything or accused of anything that we're talking about here this morning. Everybody's got something. Everybody's got something that you need to get reconciled, just like God the Father had to before he could move forward in his relationship with his creation. Can you say amen?
Amen.
Hallelujah.